Hello there, and welcome to another edition of Starry Skies, the magazine programme where we talk about what you can see in the night sky this coming month. I'm Mark Hardacre.
And I'm Steve Tonkin.
And we've got our coffee and we're ready for another edition, aren't we?
We are.
So today we're going to be looking at May, of course, the month where we really transition from spring into summer, and where the nights go from acceptable, let's say, to very short indeed.
To almost non-existent by the end of the month.
Absolutely. Perfect for your gardens and summer holidays and drinks and barbecues, but not the best for astronomers, eh?
No, although we'll see there are still lots of things to see in the sky all year round.
That's right. This week, 1st of May, the sky is dark enough to see the stars around, 9:45, Steve?
Yeah, even a bit earlier than that. You start seeing them just after 9, I think.
Yeah. But then by the end of the month, we have to wait until nearly 11 o'clock at night before it's dark. And by June, there's actually no astronomical twilight at all here in Dorset and Hampshire for a couple of months.
Yeah.
So what's astronomical twilight? What's that?
Well, there's 3 levels of twilight. There's civil twilight, which originally is defined as it's still light enough to do sort of normal civil activities. And that's when the sun's no more than 6 degrees below the horizon. Then you've got nautical twilight, which is when it's at the end of that, it's no longer possible to distinguish between a sea horizon and a sky horizon in a dark.
Army hearties.
Yeah. So you can't see the horizon anymore. So that's nautical twilight. Then astronomical twilight goes up until when the sun is 18 degrees below the horizon. And that's when at the end of that, it gets fully dark. And from the 25th of May, we don't get beyond astronomical twilight, so we never get full astro dark, and we won't get it again until mid-July.
And that's for here in Dorset and Hampshire.
That's for here in Dorset and Hampshire.
Those poor Scottish people and Yorkshire people up north, it's even worse, isn't it?
Oh, they've had it already. They're already there.
They're already.
Yeah. And so, so land of the rising sun people. Land of the Midnight Sun
That's
people. Oh, what am I talking about? Old Animals fan here. Land of the Midnight Sun. Now, but if you're at the North Pole, it is going to be sunlight all day.
Yeah. So anyway, we have to make the best of it, haven't we, Steve?
Oh, we do.
Actually, May is also a pretty poor month for planets. We have hardly anything around this month. Yeah. We thought April was bad, but May's even worse, isn't it?
May's even worse, yeah. And even, our good friend Orion, who we've been looking at all winter, May is the first month where you can no longer see Orion. Yeah. So, it's we have to start looking for other stuff, which, of course, we will do.
We will do. And we've lost Jupiter, so I was looking at Jupiter just the other night as it disappeared into the evening twilight, taking Uranus with it. Normally brilliant Venus, which we've been watching in the morning sky recently, has also disappeared. It's really close to the sun, as is Mercury and Neptune.
Yep.
So only if you're a very early riser, you might catch Saturn and you might catch Mars rising in the east before dawn at 2 or 3 in the morning, but it's not worth getting out of bed for.
Rising is sort of like overstating it, really. They sort of skim the horizon.
That's it. But watch this space, because come the summer and autumn, we'll be talking more about Saturn and Mars. Mars will have an opposition this year, so it will be very, very brilliant towards the end of the year. And Saturn's rings will be almost edge-on as we get towards autumn. So listen out for more Starry Skies coming your way on Forest FM.
Indeed.
So, does that mean there's nothing to see in the May sky, Steve?
There is never nothing to see in the night skies unless it's cloudy.
And, the sky's full of wonder always. As the spring gives way to summer, the colour of the land changes from brown to green. And we might also notice the colours in the sky above us. And we thought we'd talk about star colours a bit this month.
Yeah, because people just think of stars as just being, they're all sort of white sparkly things, and actually they aren't. Some of them are, a lot of them are.
Right.
But there's an amazing array of colours going from some very deep red ones right through to brilliant blue. So you get stars, the colours, all colours of the rainbow. We don't see the purple because our eyes aren't that sensitive in that colour, and the stars don't generally give out that much of that colour either.
That's right. But if we can see these colours really with the naked eye and also with binoculars, right?
Yeah, well, binoculars or a telescope actually bring out the colours even more.
Yeah.
And if you defocus them slightly,
That's
then you can really see the colours.
Yeah.
It really brings
So
it out.
let's start with one of these stars that we can easily find tonight or any night during May. So if you look up high in the southeast as night falls, you can't fail but to see the bright star Arcturus.
Yeah.
Which is in the constellation of Boötes, which we'll talk about in a little while. But Arcturus is the fourth brightest star in the sky. You can't miss it, so all you have to do, look south, a little bit east, and there above you is brilliant Arcturus. And if you look at it carefully, either with a naked eye or out-of-focus binoculars, as Steve said, you can see it's distinctly orange in colour.
Yes, yeah.
And it's easy to find. We can start with the plough. I think most people can find the plough. Follow the tail of the plough, the end three stars of the plough, down, arc on down to Arcturus. That's how we remember it, isn't it?
We have, and I think we've talked about this one before. It's easy to do, and we'll carry on that line as well in a little bit as well when we talk about the next star we're going to talk about.
So is this colour real, Steve? Is it a real colour, or is it just our eyes?
No, it is real. If you think about when you say heat up a piece of metal, it starts going cherry red when it's quite only just getting hot, and then it goes to full red hot, orange hot, yellow hot, white hot. If you could heat it up enough so it didn't, without it vaporizing, you'd eventually get it blue hot. And this is what we see in stars, because stars are, of course, they're plasmas as well, heated gas, ionized gas, and they can be heated to enormous temperatures and cooled to very low temperatures.
Right. So the colour of the stars, you'd say then, is determined primarily by its temperature, right?
Indeed.
So if we look at the sun, for instance, that's our nearest star, and we would say it's probably got a golden, yellowy colour. And that's why it has a temperature that we measure of about, 5,500 degrees Kelvin or Celsius, whichever you want to use. But Arcturus, with its slightly orangey yellow colour, is cooler.
Yeah, it's more than 1,000 degrees cooler.
Yeah. So Arcturus is about 4,280, it says here on my piece of paper, 4,280 C.
Yeah.
So it's quite a bit cooler, and therefore appears slightly redder than our sun.
Yeah. It's interestingly, though, even though it's cooler than our sun, it's a star that was once very similar to our sun. It's only about 1.5 times the mass of the sun. But it's going through what's called its red giant phase, which is why it's the colour it is, and it's about 25 times the diameter of the sun, which makes it, whatever 25 cubed is, the volume of the sun. I'm not doing that arithmetic in my head.
But so that's a clue as to what the sun will be like maybe in 5 to 10 billion years, as it will slowly puff out its atmosphere, get bigger, thinner, and cooler. So we should expect the sun to become orangey before it goes red. Right?
Oh, yes.
So, so that's Arcturus, which is a cooler star. But let's start at the other extreme. If we arc on down to Arcturus from the plough and then spike on further towards the horizon, we come to Spica. Spica is the brightest star in Virgo, the maiden, one of our zodiac constellations. And again, to find it, look below Arcturus towards the south. It's lower in the sky, not quite as bright, but certainly when you look at it, it's blue-white.
Yeah.
Blue-white. Not as bright, it's probably the 20th or something brightest star in the sky, but easy to find from the plough, as we just explained.
Yeah.
And its temperature, because it's a blue-white star, it has a temperature of an amazing 22,000 degrees. So it's really, really very hot indeed.
4 times as hot as the sun.
Yeah, it is. And it's 10 times the size of the sun, so it's a massive blue-white giant, and it's over 200 light-years away from us. So at that distance, to be so bright, you can imagine it's a very luminous star indeed.
Yeah, indeed.
And with such a temperature, it not only pumps out red light, yellow light, blue light, but it also pumps out a huge amount of ultraviolet light.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be too near Spica. You don't want to be the Earth going around Spica.
Indeed. I mean, ultraviolet is the stuff that gives you sunburn, can give you cataracts in your eyes. It's really what you don't want. It can of course, genomic instability as well. So it's,
Not the place for life at this time. Okay, so let's go to a star that's a bit cooler still. So now we're going to have a look in the north in May. So turn your eyes 180 degrees, turn away from Spica in the south and look northeast probably. And there, down low, you'll find brilliant Vega in the constellation of Lyra. It's a bit cooler than Spica. It's a lot more than Spica, actually. It's only 9,600 degrees, which is almost double the sun. But to the naked eye, that is a really pure white star with a tiniest hint of blue in binoculars.
Yeah, it's the blue is quite indistinct. You actually have to compare it to another star to see it, really.
Yeah, pure. I think of it as pure white, and it just flashes blue now and again. Now, this one, Vega, is only 25 light years away from us, so it's much, much closer. Therefore, it's not quite so intrinsically bright. And it's the fifth brightest star in the sky, right?
Yep.
Lovely little constellation. We'll talk about that more in the summertime. So let's get cooler and cooler. Let's go to the next coolest star. So let's find Polaris. So Polaris is the pole star. We know how to find that, don't we?
We do. We use the plough asterism again, and we take the 2 pointers, so the other end from the tail, and a handspan away from them, so go up to the north, you will find Polaris. It's not, most people seem to think it's a bright star. It's not that bright.
Yeah.
It's only second magnitude, but it's important for us because it appears not to move.
That's
so it
right.
marks the position above the North Pole.
Yeah.
Hence its name, Polaris.
Steve and I do lots of outreach where we're meeting people, and the number of people that think that Polaris must be the brightest star in the sky, it's not.
It really isn't.
It's quite an indistinct, normal little star up there. And its temperature is a mere 7,200 Kelvin or Celsius. So it's pure white. It's not the brightest in the sky, as we said. And its temperature represents a class of stars known as A-type stars, right? A.
Yes. So Spica is a B-type star.
Yeah, and this classification of stars by temperature is a most peculiar thing. And if you can really understand how it came about, you're a better man than Steve and I.
Well, it was actually brought about by a fantastic female astronomer. She was actually they called her a computer. And her name was Annie Jump Cannon. And she classified the spectrum, which is involved with the colour, of somewhere around 400,000 stars. And she realised that there were things going on, and you could learn a lot from that. So the what's called the spectral classification, these letters that Mark's been talking about, are an indication of not only the colour of the star, but also other stuff you can see in its spectrum.
Right. But it's got so confused over the years. So the very, very brightest and hottest stars are called O stars, right?
Pretty rare.
Pretty rare, very, very hot indeed.
Is Spica an O or a...
It's a B.
It's a B. I thought it was a B.
Yeah. There's one star we can see in the night sky with the naked eye that's O, but that is Zeta Fucae. But well, anyway, we'll come to that at the time. Spica is B. Polaris is A. Our sun is a G star.
So there should be an F somewhere.
There should be an F in there too. There's no F here at all. And then to K, which is Arcturus. So Arcturus is a yellowy orange star. And the coolest stars are M-class stars, which we'll come to in a minute. That's Antares. But that classification, O, B, A, F, G, K, M, that's the order from very hot to very cool. And we remember that by...
Well, Oh, be a fine girl, kiss me.
Ah, that's how we remember it.
There are other ones.
Yes, there are other ones too. But it's a mystery, really, how this order came about. So that's why we need the mnemonic to keep us in check here. Anyway, M-class stars. These are the coolest ones. And the best example of a cool star, a cool red star, is Antares, which is rising in May to the east around midnight. It will pop up above the horizon, and it's a distinct red colour.
Oh, it is. Well, that's almost, it's given in its name as well.
Yeah.
Antares. Well, Ares was the old Greek name for Mars, and Antares means the rival to Mars, and its redness rivals that of the planet Mars.
Indeed it does. And when Antares is rising, because its light is coming to us through a thick layer of the atmosphere, it twinkles all sorts of colours. Mainly red, oranges and yellows, but occasionally you get a flash of green, all sorts of colours. So have a look for Antares low around midnight in the east, and that is an M-class supergiant star. It's so big that its atmosphere, if it was where the sun is, its atmosphere would stretch out all the way past Mercury, past Venus, past the Earth, would engulf us, all the way out to Mars. But of course,
and beyond,
it would be very, very thin. The atmosphere of Antares is it's not like the surface of the sun. It's much more woolly and amorphous, right?
Yeah.
But its temperature is only 3,600 degrees, so it's a red-hot star, and it really is red. 5,500 light years away, so quite a bright star.
Very far away.
Yeah, but quite a long way away. Anyway, how about constellation of the month, Steve?
Well, we thought we'd do Boötes because it's got Arcturus, and Arcturus is a nice bright star, easy to find. And Boötes looks like a child's kite.
That's what I think of it too.
Yeah.
It's a biggish constellation. It's easy to find. As I said, find Arcturus by arcing down from the bear's tail in the Plough, and that's the brightest star. But then, as you'll see from the map that we've put on the Forest FM website, and also Fordingbridge Astronomers on Wessex, you'll see the shape of Boötes is kite-shaped. Also looks like an ice cream cone a little bit. It's not a particularly bright constellation, but we can find it fairly easily in the sky. It's one of the original 48 constellations that was noted by the astronomer Ptolemy in the 2nd century AD, and it's meant to be a herdsman. Right, so Boötes, the herdsman, from the Greek and the Latin Boötis, meaning the cow driver. Anyway, just what it's got to do with cows, I don't know.
No, but it's also interesting. There is in January a meteor shower. The January meteor shower, which name is
the Quadrantids.
The Quadrantids.
Yeah.
And now meteor showers are named after the constellation which they come, but there's no Quadrans, constellation anymore. And Quadrans was an old constellation that has become defunct ever since, and it's actually part of the northern part of Boötes.
Yeah.
So that meteor shower actually comes from Boötes. So we should probably rename it the Boötids. But it's
still the Quadrantids, isn't it?
It's still the Quadrantids.
But there are a couple of meteor showers out of Boötes, but not anything like the nice summer showers that we'll be having, the Perseids and so on.
Well, we do have a meteor shower early in May, of course, which is the Eta Aquarids.
Oh, that's true.
And those are from little specks of dust that come from possibly the most famous comet of all.
Oh, which is that?
Comet Halley or Halley or Haley, however, it doesn't matter how you pronounce it. The only people who will misunderstand the comet you mean are people who make a habit of being awkward. So don't worry about it. If you call it Haley, Halley, Hawley, it doesn't matter.
What we'd like to know, though, is what Mr. Haley or Halley or Hawley called himself. And we don't know, do we? We don't know whether he's Hawley or Halley.
Well, he sometimes spelt his name Hawley.
Yes.
So it's an indication there.
Yeah.
But we don't know.
Patrick Moore. What did Patrick Moore call him?
I think he called him Hawley. I think Patrick called him Hawley.
Yeah, I think so. But it's changed over the years. Yeah. It's a fashion thing.
And it doesn't matter. That's the thing. And this is the thing about a lot of astronomy, a lot of the names. So Mark has mentioned the star Spica. If you pronounce it Spicer, Spica, again, people will understand. You don't worry about your pronunciation. Yeah. Knowing how to find it and understanding a bit about it is so much more important than knowing how to pronounce its name.
And here we are getting carried away again, as usual, because we have fun doing this.
We do.
Back to our constellation of the month, Boötes. There's a number of different legends as to the identity of this herdsman character, but honestly, I lose track of which particular one. So it's just a herdsman. He's in the sky there. And Arcturus, actually, the word Arcturus means the bear guardian, or guardian of the bear, because he's close to both the Great Bear, which is Ursa Major, or part of the plough, and also the Little Bear. So he's guarding both of them as they circle around the sky.
And, of course, the Little Bear is the constellation in which the star we've already mentioned, Polaris, lies.
Yes. Yep. And you can see that on the star chart that we'll post shortly.
It's actually worth looking at the Little Bear in binoculars, because the two next brightest stars after Polaris are very different colours as well. Kochab is very, very reddish, so you're, again, in the same field of view of wide-angle binoculars, you can actually see these different colours of stars.
Yeah, orangey red and blue-white. Yeah. So, what else have we got in the Boötes? Well, it's in a part of the sky that is actually facing away from the Milky Way centre. So, there are really few what we call deep sky objects. There are very few clusters and very few gaseous nebulae in that direction. But there are a couple of galaxies visible in larger telescopes, and one rather a nice globular cluster. A globular cluster is think of it as a snowball, where each ice crystal is a star, a spherical cluster. That's called NGC 5466. And just across the border, just to the west.
To the west.
That's right, the west.
Canes Venaticae.
In CVN, Canes Venaticae, is another beautiful globular cluster, which you must have a look at with your small telescopes or binoculars. That's called M3, named, of course, by Messier, Charles Messier. And that is a really super object to look at with your binoculars and telescopes.
Oh, it is. And in, say, 8-power or 10-power binoculars, it looks like a fuzzy star, but it's very, very clearly not a star.
Yeah.
And if you have a small telescope and you look at that, it's, takes a bit of finding, because it's in a sparse area of the sky, but you will see it's this cluster of stars that are very, very tightly bound, very dense towards the centre, spreading out as you get away from the centre. And they're marvellous objects indeed.
Yeah. And I will post a picture of M3 that I took with my telescope on our website this next coming days. So, if you're interested in astronomy, do come along to our astronomy clubs here in the region. We have 3 that we'd like to mention. Obviously, Fordingbridge Astronomers is probably the closest, based loosely around Ringwood. We meet on the 3rd Wednesday of the month at the Elm Tree in Ringwood. We then have Wessex Astronomical Society. Yeah. They meet in...
it's the Allendale Centre in Wimborne, and that is the first Tuesday of the month.
Yep. And we all have websites, of course. And we have another little club, which we are now associated with up in Cranbourne. Cranbourne Chase Astronomical Society, based in Shaftesbury, actually. Yeah. They meet at the Grosvenor Hotel. And I think that is the second Tuesday in the month.
Yeah.
And we're all very friendly people. If you want to come along, you don't have to be knowledgeable about astronomy. You just have to be interested. We have plenty of equipment. We have plenty of interesting people to talk to. We do love a drink now and again. Not too much, just the correct amount.
And we chat a lot and get along together a lot. And the other thing is, please note, if you don't have a telescope, that is not a bar to coming to an astronomical society. Yeah. In fact, if you don't have a telescope, we'd prefer you to come along, because then we can help you to get a decent one.
Yeah. And we're going to November time, when it's Christmas time and people are thinking of buying presents for their kids or their cousins and whatever, thinking of buying a telescope, we're going to do a special edition in November, so wait for that, when we're going to really talk about the types of equipment that you can buy, and most especially, please, what not to buy, because there's some absolute junk out there, and you'll waste your money, and you'll be very disappointed with what you get, and people will move away from astronomy rather than joining the club.
Yeah, a decent first telescope will make astronomy easy for you. One that a lot of the gimmicky ones that are out there will make astronomy appear difficult, and it does not have to be difficult at all.
Yeah, and as we've always said on this show, Steve, haven't we? We can start, best of all, with the naked eye. Learn your way around the sky. Then move on to a pair of standard binoculars. Your 10 by 50s or your 7 by 50 binoculars are perfect for getting your way around the sky. And when you know your way around the sky, then move to telescopes, bigger and bigger and better and brighter, whatever. Put your cameras on the end of them, whatever. If you try and do all that at once, you're likely to end up disappointed, and we don't want that.
We don't. And again, don't spend too much money on a telescope first either. There's a lot of, some of us really benefit from it, because when people buy these very flashy things that they eventually can't operate, they then get sold on usually at about half the original price, and some of us benefit from those.
Indeed. Anyway, we'll come to that in November.
We will.
And we've got all the summer to go. We wish you all the best for stargazing in May, and look forward to talking to you again at the beginning of June. Don't forget our websites, Forest FM, of course, Fordingbridge Astronomers, Wessex Astronomical, and Cranbourne Change Astronomical Society. And look forward to seeing you in a month's time. From Mark Hardacre
and Steve Tonkin,
we wish you clear skies.
And keep looking up.